Hello friends, Debbie Lichter here, founder of Freedom Embodied Academy and Freedom from Food Addiction. All right, raise your hand if you are a perfectionist. Just raise your hand here. I feel like this is one of the number one things that I hear from folks. And here's what's interesting is that when you're a perfectionist, you don't always want to actually give up being a perfectionist because it's kind of something that you feel like it's working for you. So just, hey Kate, oh, I'm so glad you're here. So tell me if you kind of secretly, so you're like, oh my God, I know I'm a perfectionist, whatever, but like you kind of secretly like that you're a perfectionist. If you secretly like that you're a perfectionist, then just put secret in the comments, because I can tell you right now that I used to thrive off of being a perfectionist. I loved this idea that I had this personal hidden standard for myself that was way higher than anybody else's standard, and everybody else could, get away with like not being perfect, but I had to I had to hold myself to a different standard, right? Hey Mary, oh my gosh, so good to see you, and Susanna. So this is the thing, and I remember, one of the things, so I used to play softball growing up. And I remember working my body into the ground, and having aches and pains, and it was almost like I had this sort of this wounded, valiant, heroic thing going on with me, where I wanted everyone to know, I know there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, but can't you see how hard I'm working? Can't you see how much I want this? It was just this running my body into the ground, practicing just tearing my body apart, wanting everyone to see, because that's the whole thing. I wanted everyone to see how hard I was working. I wanted everyone to get how hard I was working, how much I wanted to be able to be better than what I was. It was my perfectionism was so caught up with how you all saw me, how you all thought of me, deeply, deeply, desperately wanting you to get me, to approve of me, to validate me, to understand me, and to know that I knew that I had some work to do, but that I was trying as hard as I can. So I want to find out from you what your brand of perfectionism is. What's that inner dialogue for you? Are you the kind of perfectionist that you're a total people pleaser? Are you a perfectionist that, you're an overgiver and a people pleaser? I was definitely one of those too. Are you the kind of perfectionist that you run your body into the ground? You push your body past the point of exhaustion. You stay up late. This goes along with the workaholism stuff. What kind of perfectionist are you? Are you the kind of perfectionist that is so hard on yourself that you get paralyzed, with indecision, you get paralyzed with not wanting to put yourself out there, because not wanting to mess up, look bad, look stupid, get it wrong, and so your world gets smaller and smaller, that you hold back more and more? I have been all of those things. I think that they all go hand in hand. If you relate to any of that stuff, you can just say all of the above. Because, here's the thing, is that perfection, there's this fabulous, fabulous quote that I'm going to share with you in just a little bit here, because it's so, so important for us to fully understand where perfection comes from. Why are we doing this? And to really, really get honest about what perfection is, because I have a feeling that there are some people listening right now who were treating perfectionism the same way that I was, kind of secretly proud of being a perfectionist, because you've got really high standards, and it means that you are holding yourself to a higher, expectation, and that's somehow really, really valiant and courageous and that kind of a thing. So yes, all of the above. We're getting some all of the above here. Yeah, and so I want to kind of debunk a few myths about perfectionism, because what I've experienced now on the other side of, actually overcoming my inner perfectionist, I can't believe what a prison I was living in. And if you are in that prison of perfectionism where you find yourself holding back, you find yourself playing small, you find yourself people pleasing, betraying your own truth because, you know, to have somebody else's validation or attention or to get the accolades or to get their approval is so overriding that it just has you betraying yourself left and right. If you have these things going on, I know how painful that is. I know how misunderstood you can feel, and I want to support you with what it actually takes to get past it. So what we're going to talk about today are definitely, I want to share with you some strategies to move past your inner perfectionist, and I'm also going to talk about what it really takes to truly get free of the pattern in the first place. Because I'm sure you know, it's like when we've developed these ingrained patterns like perfectionism or, you know, or even like a food addiction and going to food for, you know, for comfort and things like that. Like there's some sort of like quick tips and strategies that can support us, getting us on the path. But really, ultimately, to get free from these things, it is a deeper journey. And so I want to just illuminate what that is so that you don't kind of make yourself wrong again and feel like a failure because you're trying these quick tips and you're not having the full effect. But they will be incredibly helpful to the extent that you can apply them. So let us dive in together. So why do we get this perfectionism thing in the first place? Where does it come from? Let's talk about that first. You know, some of you may have heard me speak before about this phenomenon that I refer to as compartmentalization conflict. Compartmentalization conflict essentially refers to at one age or one stage in our lives, we started acting in a way that was separate from our authentic way of being. We kind of separated from our true authentic selves. And oftentimes this happens because somewhere along the way, we ingrained the idea or we imprinted the idea on ourselves or we interpreted the idea that somehow we were either not enough of what we were supposed to be, or we were too much of what we weren't so supposed to be, or we were just not the right kind. I personally had all of those. If you had one of those, not enough of what you're supposed to be, too much of what you're not supposed to be, or not the right kind, then just put whichever one you relate to in the comments. Or if you relate to all three, then put all three in the comments. Just you can put the number 3 in the comments. Because I particularly find that when it comes to perfectionism, the aspects of there's something about me that's lacking or inadequate. Yeah, we're getting a lot of that. Hey, Kelly, so glad that you're here. We're getting a lot of that stuff. Oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Yes, all 3. Oh, yeah. Oh, here it is. When it comes to perfectionism, what I find is that we can relate a lot to the lacking in some way. So there's something about me that, you know, I don't have enough of what I'm supposed to have. And the part of, I just can't get it right. Or this fixation on getting it right. And I know for me, that was a huge thing. I was terrified of getting things wrong. I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to get rejected. I didn't want to get hurt. And so I had this constant emphasis on, I need to get it right. If I can get it right, then I won't get rejected. If I can get it right, then I'll be valuable. If I can get it right, then I'm worthy enough. If I can get it right, then I can be good enough. Then I can belong. Right? I need to get it right. I need to belong. I need this sense of meaning. And so, you know, I made this decision, and maybe you relate to this early on in my life, that like something inside me, there was a deficit. I needed to be more. And my solution for that was, well, if I can do everything perfectly, and if I can get you all to like me, and if I can make my body and my face and my smile as perfect and pretty as possible, then, you know, hopefully that will like equal that I will be enough. If you're relating to this, hey Angie, if you're relating to this, say, I relate with an exclamation point in the comments. Because I know I am not alone in this stuff. I have spoken with way too many people over the last decade to know that I'm not alone in all of this stuff. So what happens when we experience this compartmentalization conflict and we separate from our authentic selves, right? Because I'm not going to be authentic if I feel like something about me inherently is not enough, or is too much, or is just not the right kind. I'm going to start to try to play by other people's rule book. I'm going to start to see, well, how do you need me to be so that I can be enough? How do you need me to be so that you can like me? And we start playing inauthentically. Does that make sense? We start living inauthentically. The other thing that happens too is that we disconnect with our bodies. So we start living up in our heads. We're no longer connected to our bodies. We're no longer connected to the fullness of who we are, which also has us feeling alone and like we don't belong and that there's something wrong with us. And when we don't connect to our bodies, when we're not in our bodies anymore, we don't connect to our inner guidance. So we also get disconnected from our inner guidance, from our inner voice, from our gut instinct, from our intuition, from all of that stuff. When that happens, this is so big, because when that happens, when you aren't connected to your inner guidance inside, it creates a feeling of self-doubt. Would you agree? You start to feel doubtful. And hey, Hannah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you relate, because when you relate to the problem, then it means you'll relate to the solution. So that's actually a good sign. But here's the thing, is that when we are disconnected from our inner guidance and we have that self-doubt inside, it does two things. Self-doubt inside and not trusting ourselves does two things. It projects us into the outside world. Right? It projects us into the outside world, because now it's like, okay, I can't trust what's going on in here. So now you all need to affirm my sense of what's right and wrong. You all need to affirm my sense of what's worthy and what's valuable, and even my own identity. So I'm going to look to you. I'm going to look to the outside world to affirm my internal sense of myself, of what's right, of what's true, of if I'm doing it okay. And what that does is it does two things. It has us start to become very controlling and try to get everything perfect, right? Because if I can control how you all think about me, if I can control how I'm being in the world, how I'm showing up, if I can control these elements, then I can ensure that I'm going to be okay internally. So we start to get controlling. We start to try to get things perfect. We try to get everything in the outside world to look a certain way for us to be okay on the inside. And we become very dependent on the outside world. Becoming dependent on the outside world because, again, I don't have this internal locus of worth and value going on inside of me and inner trust. And so I need to rely on the outside world to inform that for me. And so I'm very dependent on what you think about me. I'm very dependent on how my external circumstances look. Right? I'm dependent on how my body looks. I'm dependent on how my bank account looks. I'm dependent on these things. And what happens with that, again, is that perfectionism comes in, and perfectionism is like, well, then you better do this perfectly, because if it matters so much what's going on the outside, then you better make sure that you get that all done right. And so, hey, Melanie. And so this is how this cycle happens. It happens over and over again. And this is why perfectionism is much like control, where we're not too quick to want to get rid of these things, because it's sort of like our only solution that we think to really get that internal sense of I'm okay, I'm doing it right. And so this is why to ultimately get free from perfectionism. Because again, if you're just tuning in right now, let's get honest about perfectionism. Perfectionism is holding us back. It's having us betray our inner truth, right? It is running our bodies into the ground. It's exhausting. It's paralyzing. It's a prison, right? And so, even though it can sound valiant, it's actually really, really holding us back. And so if you really, truly want to get free of perfectionism, then I'll just share with you a little bit about what that takes. And what that takes is it takes getting free from all the junk inside that is blocking you, that's keeping you in that story of I'm not enough of what I need to be, or I'm too much of what I'm not supposed to be, or I'm not the right kind, whatever it is. We need to get free and clear of that. And when I say free and clear of that, I'm not talking about going to therapy for 10 years and like analyzing your issues. when I work with women in the Freedom Embodied Academy, they get free of that stuff in 6 months or less. Like, you can get free of these things. It's not an overnight thing, right? But you can get free and clear of this stuff. And when you get free and clear of this stuff, you are able to cultivate an internal sense of ease and comfort, an internal sense of I'm okay no matter what, an internal sense of I'm more than enough. And when you have that internal sense of I'm okay no matter what, and I am more than enough, and that internal sense of ease and comfort, that your locus of worth and of value comes from deep down within you instead of what's going on around you. When you have that I know I'm okay no matter what, regardless of what's going on around me, let me just tell you how perfectionism, control, dependence, even addiction don't really need to be there anymore. Those things fall away because you don't need them as your solution anymore. They don't need to be there. They become completely superfluous. And you are able to have an authentic connection with inside of yourself. And what's so beautiful is that that very process of getting free of the things that are blocking you deep inside is the very same process that regains your access to your own inner guidance, to that deep sense of authentic expression. It allows you to come home to yourself, because when you're blocked up with stuff inside and you're weighing, you've got all this stuff weighing heavy on you inside, you don't even have access to yourself. And so when you get free and clear of that, you get to come home to you. And for most of the people that I work with, including myself, right, I didn't even really know who I was because I was so in the various patterns of who I needed to be for other people, so in the patterns of how I needed to prove myself, of how I was going to get attention in the world, of how I was going to get you to like me, that I needed actually some integration to even learn who the heck am I. And so stick around today, because I will share with you one of the insider strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you is going to support you in actually being able to get in touch with that true authentic self. So that's something that you want, then just put authentic self in the comments, and I'll definitely circle back around and share that stuff with you. So I want to know, are you relating to this? Is this landing for you? If this is landing for you, then just put this is landing in the comments, because we got to get real about this stuff. We really got to get real about this stuff. And so what I want to do right now, yes, that getting free and clear of the deeper things that are blocking you, yes, that is stuff that I do with women in the Freedom Embodied Academy. Yes, if you are in it, Angie, you're in it, Kate, you're in it. It's just, I'm so excited to be on this journey with you, because you are going to be getting free and clear of this stuff. Like, you're going to be getting free and clear of this stuff. It's so, so cool. Yay! And if you are not, if you and I haven't had a chance to talk or connect, or if you are curious to find out more about, hey, how can I do that? I feel like I've got this internal heaviness that's creating this external heaviness in my life. I'm bogged down by resentment or fear or blame or shame or regret or remorse or guilt or grief. I'm bogged down by these things, and it's blocking me. It's paralyzing me in my life. It's holding me back. It's keeping me stuck. And I want freedom. If you want that, then please, hop on my calendar. Let's connect. Just go to allofyou.today. Allofyou.today. It'll let you book a congruence activation call with me, because congruence is really what we're talking about here. We're talking about you coming back to the most aligned, authentic, congruent you, the real you, the you that feels like you are okay no matter what, that you are more than enough, and no matter what is going on around you, you are going to get what you need. You are going to be okay. I want you to have that. And so if that is something that you want, then just grab some time. It's a free 15 minutes. It would be my honor to connect with you. And what I can do in that time with you is get laser focused. And it's amazing what we can do in a few minutes, and get laser focused with you, and get you super ultra clear on exactly where you would need to focus and what your specific next steps would be to actually getting on that path of real deep freedom. Would be my honor. Hop on my calendar. And now let's dive into these instant insider strategies. So, good, Angie. I'm glad this is landing because, sister, you are enrolled in the program that is going to be solving all this stuff, helping you out, guiding you through to freedom. So, the first thing that is super important, and we've already been speaking about it in different ways, is getting honest about what perfectionism really is. And so I want to read a quote for you. This is from there's a woman named Julia Cameron who wrote a very famous book called The Artist's Way. And I want you to just listen to this. This is powerful. Perfection is not a quest for the best. It is a pursuit of the very worst in ourselves. The part that tells us that nothing we do will ever be good enough. Whoa. I'm going to read that again. Perfectionism is not a quest for the best. It is a pursuit of the very worst in ourselves, the part that tells us that nothing we do will ever be good enough. This is so important because I don't know about you, but I mean, like I said earlier, I thought that I was pretty valiant, for having this high standard, for having these high expectations of myself, for constantly being down on myself, for never being satisfied with the status quo, for always pushing myself internally, for never sort of like resting on my laurels and saying, oh, that was actually pretty good, but for it never being good enough. It was like, I'm never enough, it's never enough, and what I do is never enough. And this drive, this constant drive, I thought was my questing for the best. I really did. And when I read this, when I came across this was back in 2011 when I read this quote, and it leveled me. I'm like, oh, I felt super called out. So if you feel super called out, I totally get it. I totally get it. But here's the thing is that what we have to get honest about is that perfection is not a quest for the best. It is not us being valiant and courageous. In fact, listen to this, kind of icky to say, it lacks humility and it's a form of false pride. Here's the thing is that when we are so judgmental of ourselves, when nothing we do is enough, when we are in constant impatience and frustration with ourselves, what it does is it widens the gap. It widens the gap between our own expectations and our own perceived inadequacies. And what happens as we widen the gap between our perceived expectations and our perceived inadequacies is that in that is where all of our shame lives. It's where all of our incongruent patterns live. It's where addiction lives. It's where all the stuff that is actually blocking us from our truest authentic way of being lives. And so what it does is it actually holds us hostage from the very freedom and peace that we want. Being hard on ourselves is never going to be a path to being freer, to healing, to having more peace, to feeling okay on the inside, to liking yourself, to being happier, to having more joy. It's never, ever going to be the pathway for that. In fact, what it does is it's actually blocking the very source energy, the very loving power that wants to surround us and supports. It's like when we deny ourselves so deeply, we are denying the very principle of love that birthed us into this life. We're actually cutting ourselves off from all of that, and we're living in a little silo, we're living in a vacuum. And this can have us feeling really alone and actually drive us to try and be more perfect, which just kind of continues the cycle. And so it's important to see this about perfection. It's also important to see perfection as not the problem, but really the solution. Just like I shared earlier, like the problem is this underlying discomfort and dis-ease, this feeling of I'm not okay as I am, the feeling of I gotta make sure I get it right so I can belong, so I can not get rejected, so that I can be liked, so that I can be loved, so I can be worthy and valuable. And then perfectionism is our solution. And so we need to see this stuff. And, if what I'm sharing about perfection, if this is kind of creating a bit of like a reality hit for you, then just put reality hit in the comment. Like this was big stuff for me. because I didn't realize that as I was pursuing perfection, I was actually holding myself back. It was like cutting my nose off to spite my face. I was holding myself back from everything that I truly, truly wanted. It was paralyzing me. It was tying my hands behind my back. And if you sense that for yourself, then I want to share with you what to do instead. So here's what to do instead. Hey, Bev. Oh, my goodness. Bev and I work together. Yeah, Bev. It's so good to see. Oh, Bev. So when's the last time I saw you? It was probably, oh my gosh, I can't even think. Okay, this is what to do instead. So you need to reframe your aim. Here's the thing. The aim when you are trying to be perfect is to try and get things right. And when we're trying to get things right, what that means is that we are constantly focused on what is wrong. We're constantly focused on what is wrong. And when you're living in a world that's all about what's right and what's wrong, then it's a black and white world. It means that we're in a world of good and bad, right and wrong. It's like we're in this very, very black and white place. And that will always, always keep you stuck, because really, if you think about it, like, there is no right and wrong. Like, there's just experiences. But when you are in perfectionism, black and white land, there's nothing like that. It's like you either are a good person or you're a bad person. You either did it right or you did it wrong. And it's a very, very difficult place to be and to live. And so when I say reframe the aim, what I'm inviting you to do is to like step out of this right and wrong paradigm, because that's all it is a paradigm. That's all that it is. It's not reality. It's not truth. It's something that we created. It's something that was imposed upon us. It's something that we maybe got from our family structure or from religious influence or from our school structure, or from societal influences. But at the heart of things, like at the truest expression of things, your inner 3-year-old is not living in that world. That's something that we get, the conditions that we get imposed upon us, right? And so what I want to support you around is shifting out of that, reframing the aim. What if it was no longer about getting it right? What if it was about having experiences? And what if it was about having fun? What if it was about playing? What if it was about creating and exploring and learning and not taking yourself or life so seriously? What if it wasn't about messing up, right? Messing up or getting it wrong or looking bad or them not liking me or getting rejected or being alone? What if it was none of those things? What if it was, oh my gosh, here I am, this incredible cosmic 3-year-old that is moving in the world, that is just creating and having fun. And what if I'm just having experiences and I'm learning more fun ways to do things and I'm learning less fun ways to do things, and I'm just kind of in this? Like, what if the whole solution for getting free from our inner perfectionist was truly coming back to that yummy, fun, authentic inner 3, 4, or 5-year-old who just wants to play? This is the key. This is the key. And what I will share with you is this, because this is actually, when I guide women through the Freedom Embodied Academy, and the whole first 6 months is really that journey of getting free and clear of the things that are blocking you. And then the whole second 6 months is getting in touch with this inner girl or boy, this inner child, right? This inner part of ourselves that is just wanting to play and explore and be carefree and have adventure and have fun and giggle and laugh, right? This is the part of us that I find so many of us have shut down, or we don't feel safe to express or explore, or we don't even know how to get back to. And I get that, because I didn't understand that either. And what I didn't realize was that there was so much stuff that was obscuring my access to that. And so here's the thing. I want to leave you with one golden tool to help you to start to get in deeper contact with this part of yourself. And that is this: start to play with creative expression. Start to get creative. Whether you think you're an artist or not an artist, it doesn't matter. But when you start to be creative, it opens up everything. It opens up everything. It connects you directly into that part of yourself. It connects you directly to creator energy, and it's an absolute pathway to overcoming the inner perfectionist. In fact, one of the major ways that I overcame my own inner perfectionist was through creativity, was through creative expression, was creating for creation's sake. Now, I will say this is a little caveat. What I and many people that I work with need to do is actually recover our creative selves, because that's actually been shut down as well. And so, I can help you with that journey too. But I just want to leave you with these tools today. And you can start to percolate on this stuff. And again, if you're like, I want some help around this, I'm relating to this, but I really want some help, then please just hop on my calendar. Go to allofyou.today, schedule some time with me. Let's connect one-on-one. It would be my absolute honor to do that. And I would love to know what the biggest part of today was for you, what you really gained. Did you like that quote? Did you relate to some of the stuff that I shared? What was your biggest takeaway? I'd love to hear that. Please share a comment. I will check back in the video. So if you are watching the replay, then please comment anyway, because I want to know. And again, it's just always such an honor to be here with you. I am so excited to be on this journey with you. Thank you for tuning in today and connecting with yourself and connecting with me. I will chat with you next time. Bye for now. Mwah.